Well, hello there. It's nice to see you. Even though I don't actually see you, by the way, and you don't see me either. I don't know where I was going with that one. Anyway, cringe aside, in this video, I'm going to show you an easy way on how to deploy a React app with its Node.js server. Both deploy them onto AWS EC2. And we'll be using this chat app that we made as a part of a series a while ago. And we'll be using this as an example to deploy it. Many of you have written this alongside myself. And but if you haven't, you can just go to this Git repo. And I suggest you clone it from here and follow along. It will make the deployment much easier. Now, of course, this app runs a front-end app, a React app on the front end on port 3000 and an Apollo server backend on port 4000. But this applies as well to any Node.js app because at the end of the day, Apollo server is just a Node.js app. It runs Express in the background. All right, so before we get going, please make sure to destroy the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. All right, let's roll the intro, shall we? All right, let's go to VS Code. And I have prepared this deploy markdown file that shows you like the steps that we're going to take to deploy the app. And you can keep it as a reference. First, we need to prepare our code. So let's start with, I'm actually going to start on the server. And here, I want to change one thing is subscriptions are going to /GraphQL. I just want to make them go to just /. So here we'll add subscriptions. And this will be an object and we'll have a property path. Oh, this will be just / like that. And we can actually get from here a subscriptions URL, this one. And let's duplicate this line. And here we can say subscriptions, just for us to see that it's working ready at, and we put that subscriptions URL and save. And let's look at our console. So now when our server starts, it says subscriptions ready at WebSockets localhost 4000 /. So without /GraphQL. So this is done. Actually, for the database configuration, so here in the config.json, I want to have these as part of a env file, and I want to centralize all of these secret keys in one file, in a .env file. So let's do that. So I'm going to copy all of this development object, just copy all of the keys inside of it. I'll create a new file, a .env, and paste those in. And select this quotation until the second quote, and hit Control D and do equals, and then remove all these quotations and also remove all of the commas on this one as well. Indent this back. So this is like kind of the syntax of a .env. And here I'll put a comment and say database credentials. All right, for this file will be different on the server, and this will not be pushed to the Git repo, of course. So let's go to the git ignore and add a .env so that it ignores it. And I'm actually going to remove the config because I want to push this, and I'm going to make this take the variables from the .env. So these are fine for now, but actually I want to change the names. Here I'll call this db_username. The convention with env files is you have this uppercase constant naming scheme. So here will be db_password, and this will be db_database, db_host, and db_dialect. All right, save that. And let's open the terminal. I'm going to close the server, and in the root directory install, so npm install .env. And here in our server.js, before we load any relative import, let's load that .env and say require .env.config. Config. Run it like that. By default, it's going to look for a .env file in the same directory, and it's going to find it. And it's going to add these to a process.env variables. So to use those, let's go to the config.json. And here, I'm actually going to make this a config.js for us to be able to use the .env. So I'll say require.env. Now you might be thinking, why am I requiring .env here? Is for the SQLized CLI to be able to access this, because it's going to run it separately. So here we'll say .config, but here we'll pass the directory because it's not in the same directory. So we'll go back one level and say .env. And here we're going to say module.exports. And we're just going to export one of these, not all of them. So I'm just going to remove all of this down to here. And we'll replace these by the process.env variable. So process.env, this will be the DB username. I'm going to actually save this, remove, I'm going to duplicate this 4 more times. And this will be the database. So here, database. And this will be the host. Password. Should have done password second. So password. Gonna move it up. And here this will be the dialect. DB underscore dialect. All right, I'm gonna remove these. Now this should work exactly the same. We can test it. Let's go to our terminal and we can just say sequelize db migrate status just to check that sequelize. Cool, the CLI can actually use this configuration and it works just fine. Okay, so I'm actually going to copy all of the contents from here. Actually, I forgot we need to add a node env, so node underscore env. And here we're in a local environment, so we'll say development. And actually this env.json needs to move to the env as well. So I'm gonna copy this, go to the env, paste it, replace that with an equals, remove the quotations from here and here, save that. I'm gonna delete this env.json, we don't need it anymore. And let's go search for JWT underscore secret, because we need to replace all the occurrences. We no longer have this env file. So in the users.js, remove that import. And we need to go down here and say process.env.jwt secret. I'm going to copy that and go to context middleware, remove this import and replace that with process.env.jwt secret. All right, close that. That's fine. I'm going to copy this into a new file, create a new file .env.example and paste that in so that we can make it easy for whoever's like cloning this to populate this. So I'm going to remove all of this, delete all of these, same thing as that, and save. And this will actually be pushed to the Git repo. And it actually makes it easier for us to set up our code on the server. So that's everything set up with the server, but for the client, we need to go to, usually you go to package.json and you set a proxy variable here, but for Apollo, let's go to source to our Apollo provider, and we need to change these URIs. This will now be relative, so this will point to /GraphQL/, and I'll explain later why it's GraphQL, and make sure to have this trailing slash. And here for the WebSockets link, actually this needs to have the host, but since this is executing on the client side, we can get the host from the window object. So let's say const host equals window.location.host. And here, instead of localhost 4000, do $ curly brace host and close that and add a trailing slash and save. Let's run our server to check if it's working fine. All right, so we have I forgot that we have a index.js inside of the models folder that's actually requiring the configuration. So let's go there. And now we actually don't need this anymore. So we don't need the config. Actually, I'm going to leave it because I'm just going to remove this DENV, because if you wanted to add some other configuration, you can still add it here. So I'm going to keep it, but of course now it's importing from config.js. And we don't need this env here because this is available now. And remove that line. And here we're not gonna do this check because we're always using environment variables anyway. So I'm gonna remove all of this, remove that, and here say const sequelize and save. This should work. Actually, I'm gonna save without formatting. This should work exactly the same. So let's open the terminal, say npm run dev. All right, it runs. And if I go and just test out, for example, the login, it runs just fine. Cool. So now we can push our code. So break that and say git add all, git commit, and the message will be prepared code for deployment. And let's push, get push origin master. All right, our code is pushed. Let me close this. I close everything, and let's check the deploy.md. So we've done all of this. The next step was to set up an EC2 instance. So let's head over to AWS, and let's go to services EC2. And here, go to running instances, and let's launch a new instance, and select the free tier to get just the free ones if you are interested in staying in the free tier. And let's go to the Ubuntu one, select it, T2 micro, that's fine. Preview and launch, that's fine, launch. And here I'm gonna say, create a new key pair. I'm gonna call this chat, and make sure to download it because we're gonna need it. Launch instance. Okay, view instances. All right, it's pending. I'm gonna wait for it to become running. All right, our instance is running. So we can actually connect to it via SSH now. Let's click on that and make this bigger. Let's copy this public IP to make sure I've copied it. All right, I have. And I'm gonna open git bash, make this full screen, make this a bit bigger. I'm gonna cd into my downloads folder where that key is that I downloaded. And let's say ssh-i, and let's use that key. So chat.pem. It creates an Ubuntu user by default. So let's say Ubuntu at, and then paste that public IP and hit enter. Yes, I'm gonna add that. And there we go. We're actually now SSH'd into our server. Now, first thing I want to do is I want to clone the repo where our code is and bring it into our server. And it's right here. And this is a public repo, so I can just clone it with HTTPS. But I'm gonna work assuming that this is a private repo because usually you'll have your code in a private repo. And for us to be able to pull code from a private repo, we need to add a deploy key. So let's go to the settings of the this repo, and let's go to deploy keys. And here we need to add an SSH key that represents our server. And actually, let's generate one first. So I'm gonna go and Google generate SSH key. Go to this GitHub link and just copy this command from here. And let's go to our server and cd into a hidden directory .ssh, and here paste that command and change this with your email. I'm gonna put my email here, class@gmail.com, hit enter. Okay, I hit enter, I'm okay with that name and no passphrase, and ls, and here you'll see we have these two new files, and here I'll do vim id rsa.pub for the public key. I'm going to copy the entire contents of the key and go back to GitHub, and here add a deploy key, and I'll call it EC2 server and paste that in. No write access because it just needs to pull the code. And now we can actually clone this code even if it was a private repo. So let's grab the get endpoint and let's go back to our server, exit this :q, and I'm actually going to clear the console, cd back. And here I'll say git clone and paste that in. And I want to clone it into a directory, and I'll call this messageme.com, which is the fake domain name that I have for this. I don't actually own that domain name, but I just called it that. All right, yes, I want to trust it. Cool, now if we do ls, we have this directory. If we cd into messageme.com, do ls, you see that all of our code is here. So now let's actually install the dependencies for our server to run. So let's say npm install. And I forgot we actually don't have npm and node installed in our server, but we can actually install it. So we need to install a binary version for Ubuntu. So we'll say node, I already Googled it, NodeJS node source. Let's go here to this GitHub link, scroll down, and let's grab 12 because that's the stable one. Copy this curl command and go back to our server, paste it and run it. And let's go back again. We need to copy this install command to install the package that we just downloaded. Wait for it. Okay, it's done. Paste that and hit enter. All right, now we have node installed. We can check node-v. There you go. We have 12.18.4. And of course, same thing for npm. So now we can run npm install to install all of the dependencies for our server. All right, and I'm going to cd into client and install the dependencies for client as well. Run npm install inside of client. And now we need to actually connect our server into a database so that we can have where to store data. And for this, let's go to AWS and let's go to services. I'm actually going to duplicate this. Let's go to services, RDS. Because this app uses a MySQL database, I'm going to create a new RDS instance here. So let's go create database and select MySQL. And here select free tier. I'm going to call this cluster chat. Master username is admin. And for the password, let's generate, I'm using LastPass here to generate a secure password. I'm going to copy it. Make sure to actually store this. I'm actually going to go back to my desktop and create a new text file. So call it dbcreds so that I don't lose it. And here I'll say username, actually make this bigger, is admin, password is what I just copied. And let's go back. That's fine. So, oh, actually I forgot to fill it. So I'm just going to paste it twice here. And Tito micro, that's fine. That everything else is fine. Here, actually for connectivity, I'm going to click on additional and give it public access so that I can connect to it from my machine just to demonstrate some stuff. It's not actually just like open to the public, by the way. You still need to have the admin and the password, the password that we just created. So it's not, open for anyone. Hit create. And no, it's not actually my password. I'm going to wait for it to finish provisioning and creating the database. It says backing up, but I think it's done creating. It's just like doing like a snapshot of it. Yeah, it's available. So we can connect to it. You don't have to do this, but I just want to demonstrate to you how to connect to it. So go to MySQL shell and do \c to connect. And our user is admin and do @ and paste that endpoint there and hit enter. And it needs the password. So I'm going to grab the password from that dbcreds file that I created. So copy that. And go here, paste it, and hit enter, and wait for it. All right, it can't connect. Okay, I know why. It's because RDS, even though it says publicly accessible, but we need to actually go to the security group. So click on that security group, and here, make this bigger. Let's go to inbound rules and go edit inbound rules. It doesn't allow anything other than that VPC to connect. So let's add another rule here. And select, scroll down, go to MySQL/Aurora, and for the source, do anywhere. So any source can connect through port 3306. Save that. And now, if I go back to the MySQL shell and try to connect, and where's that password again? Copy it and paste it. This time it should connect. All right, yes, save password, and there we go. We're actually connected. So do \SQL, just change to that. Show databases, and we get the default MySQL databases. Cool. Now let's actually connect our server to this database. And let's go to the other terminal, cd one level back, and now we need to create the actual .env file. So we can copy that example env, so say cp .env.example and say .env. And now vim.env or nano if you prefer that. And here we need to populate these. So the NodeENV will be production because this is a production server. And the JWT secret, I'm just going to put like some gibberish for now. You can generate a secure one and paste it. And the DB username will be admin. The DB password will be the password that I have copied. And the database, we'll call this chat. It hasn't been created yet because remember that chat thing, that's a cluster. It's not just a single database. And the host will be, let me copy it again. Let's go back to RDS. Let's go back to, somehow on EC2 again. No, actually, I'm in RDS, that's fine. Copy this endpoint and let's go back to the terminal. Paste that there. And the dialect is MySQL. All right, hit escape :X to save. And now we need to find out if SQLize can connect to it. And we need to actually install SQLize CLI globally. So npm install -g SQLize -CLI and give that a second to install. Oh, sorry, I forgot to add sudo because otherwise we don't have permission to update any system files. All right, we have SQLize. Now the moment of truth, I'm going to run SQLize, SQLize db create to create the actual database. All right, database chat created. And if we go to the MySQL shell, actually, let me make this bigger. And I say show databases. There we go. We get a chat database that's been created. Nice. So now our server is actually connected to our database. So now let's run the migrations. So SQLize db:migrate, migrate. And let's run the seeders as well. So db seed all. And now if we go back to the MySQL shell, use that chat db and select from users. Cool. We get our like 3 fake users that we have created. All right. So the data has been seeded. So now we actually need to run our server. Now we could type node server.js and this will run the server and everything will be fine. But obviously this is not the approach that we need, because each time we escape from it, the server stops and nothing is serving our front end. Let's fix the second one first. We need to build our front end files and serve them as static files. And before we can do that, we need to set up Nginx, which is a web server that will help us kind of route the different services to whatever our client is requesting. So let's install Nginx. So let's say sudo apt install Nginx. Hit enter and let it install. Yes. All right, it's done installing and it automatically runs itself. So let's check. Let's go to EC2 and copy that public IP and open a new tab and paste it and see what we get there. All right, we don't get anything. It just hangs. I know why, because we need to actually allow HTTP access to the IP, to that EC2 instance. So let's go back to EC2 and go to security. And click on that security group that's associated with the instance. And here in the click inbound rules, edit inbound rules, you see we only have a rule to allow SSH. That's why we connect to it. But we need to add another rule. And here select, where is it? HTTP. And the source is anywhere. So we need to allow anywhere to connect through HTTP. And now if we go back to that tab and hit enter, there we go. We get welcome to Nginx, which is the default Nginx page. Now, of course, we need to change this. So let's go back to our server. And to show you where that's coming from, by the way, you can cd to the /etc/www and www and oh, it doesn't exist. Oh, my bad. Not etc/var/www. And here, if you do ls, you get an HTML directory. If we cd into it, we get this index HTML. So let's actually edit it. And here, let's say, welcome to, I'm going to change this to welcome to chat app and hit :x. Or actually, I needed to do sudo, my bad, because we don't own this as the user Ubuntu. This is kind of redundant, but it's just like a small demonstration. Save it. And now that we updated that, I updated the title of the document, not this header. So yeah, it is. It does say welcome to chat up here. So it has changed. All right, so we need to change the configuration of Nginx to make it point to our application. And first, I want to build the front-end files of our app. So let's do cd to go back to our users and cd into messageme.com, cd into client. And here we need, actually, I'm just going to clear the console. We need to build our client files. So let's say npm run build to build our React application. All right, so our app is built now. I'm going to create a new directory next to the HTML directory that Nginx has. So I'm just going to say make the /var/www/ and I'm going to call it the same domain name that we're using for this. So messageme.com, hit enter. Oh, I need to do sudo and hit enter. Okay, now it's created it, which reminds me, actually, we need to own this as this user. So do, let's remove this make the, and let's say chown to make this user the owner of this directory, capital R, and do $, uppercase user, $uppercase user, and give that directory, hit enter. And now we can actually operate anything on that directory. Now we have everything inside of this build directory right here. That is our static files. So we need to move everything into this directory. So let's say, actually, I'm just going to copy them. So say cp-r and build/star, and we're going to move them into /var/www/messageme.com and hit enter. And now if we do ls/var/www/messageme, you'll see that we have all of our React files there, the static app. And if we go here and we refresh, actually nothing happens because we're not we're not serving those files. So we need to edit the nginx configuration. So let's cd into /etc/nginx, and actually, what is it? Yes, let's cd into sites available, and here we get the default file here. So let's do sudo vim default to edit it, and let's scroll down, and right here, this is where it's pointing to the default files that it serves. So now let's actually edit this, and we need to point it into var www.msgme, so messageme.com, and put a colon there. And down here as well, inside of this location /block, I'm going to replace this. So leave try files $URI, and here say /index.html, which will be the default file that it will serve from there. So escape:x to save. And now we need to restart nginx for this change to take place. So let's say sudo systemctl restart nginx and hit enter. And now let's go back to Chrome, refresh. And there we go, we actually get our front end. But of course, it's not connected to any backend, and it's failing this WebSockets connection because, of course, our backend is not running yet. And if we click login, it's going to fail because there's no server. So that's easily fixable. Let's cd into our users and cd into messageme.com. And here we can run our app doing Node server, but of course that approach wouldn't work because each time we'd leave it would break it. So we're going to install pm2, which is a process manager. So let's say npm install -g pm2 and let that install. And what this does basically, it manages the different node servers that you have on the server, and then it keeps them running even though when you leave. Again, I forgot the sudo, add sudo to that and hit enter. Now we can say pm2 start. Make sure you're in the directory messageme.com and say server.js and do --name. Let's give it a name, and this will be just server, and hit enter. And there we go. It actually gives you a list of the processes, and the server process now is online and is working. To check, we can just do curl localhost 4000. I mean, we get this get query missing, but this is the normal response from an Apollo or like a GraphQL server. So our server is actually running, but we need to route all the requests that come to our server to this. We need to do something called a reverse proxy. So let's cd, actually without cd in, we need to edit the nginx configuration. So let's say sudo vim and do /etc/nginx/sites available /default. And down here under this location /block, I'm going to set another server block and tab here, say location. And I'm going to point anything that goes to the server to /GraphQL/ like this. And I open curly braces and close them here and tab again twice. And here we'll say proxy pass http://localhost 4000 semicolon. And now this alone, any request that comes to our server to /GraphQL will point it to our running NodeJS Apollo server. But I'm going to add a couple of lines which help our subscriptions actually route into a WebSocket instead of staying on an HTTP in case it's actually a request for subscription. And I'm going to add these 3 lines. Don't think too much about them, but they're just lines that you add, and you just configure this once and you leave it. So here we'll say proxy HTTP version, and this will be 1.1, and do semicolon rather. And here we'll say proxy _set_header, and we're gonna need to set the upgrade header, so upgrade, and here we'll do $HTTP upgrade and do semicolon. And here we're going to add another header. So proxy set header. And this will be the connection header. So connection, and this will say update, upgrade. And close that and do semicolon and escape :x to save. And now we just need to restart Nginx. So actually sudo, I keep forgetting that, sudo system control systemctl restart Nginx. All right, now let's go back to our server and not the server, sorry, click on the IP. Now we get our front end, but will we get our backend? Click on login, and there we go. We do get our backend and it works. And if you go to network and etc, which I'm gonna refresh, there you go. You see we send a request to /GraphQL and it's actually pointing it to our server. If I put John and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and hit enter, we do log in. And if I go to WebSockets, it actually requests switches the protocol successfully, and it actually, subscribes. And if I hit the reaction here, we get a payload here, and even WebSockets are connecting successfully. All right, I hope this was not too overwhelming. And again, like everything is in the GitHub. I'm going to push all of this to the repo. And yeah, if you have any questions, if you get stuck on anything, please let me know in the comments. Again, smash the like button for the algorithm to spread this video out there so we get more people in and explode the channel. All right, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.